Good morning, everyone. Happy Good Friday. I think that's the first thing we need to say this morning. It is Good Friday. For those of you who didn't know, it's Easter weekend. So looking forward to this weekend. I'm relaxing, and also, we know what Easter is all about. Wanted to start off, and of course, this is my partner here, Lenny Hodges. Say good morning, please, sir.
Howdy.
Howdy. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to get you kind of like going on Did You Knows first. We can just put that light bulb up there, Jesse, that slide. Yeah, there we go. Get you thinking on that first, and then we're going to hop back into last week's podcast a little bit. And there's this one slide that I want to talk about. Elvis and Lenny touched on it a little bit, but there was a point on there I just wanted to make, and I wanted Lenny also to chime in and elaborate a little bit more on it as well. So here we go with the Did You Knows, and please do not Google. I mean, you can figure all this out through Google, but use your own brain power. That's another slide I'm going to show you guys in a second. Use your own brain power. So there's two Did You Knows. The first one is question. All right, what country, let's do this. What 3 countries are the world's top energy consumers? Not producers, consumers. Top 3 electricity consumers. Got that? Okay. And then the second Did You Know is, let's focus on China for a bit. What state imports the most from China? Which state imports the most from China? So those are your 2 right there. Think through them. Do not Google, please. Don't do it. I know it's easy to do. Don't do it. All right. So I wanted to go back up real quick to this other slide. Go back. This thing. Lenny, thoughts to come to mind on this. I saw this so much, especially the one on the left last week on vacation. It started to just totally irritate me.
It's like, I don't know. I think society is too reliant on the internet. I think society is going to be eventually too reliant on AI. Like you said, who's going to be able to think for themselves? Yeah. And what happens, I mean, if anything was to happen where we don't have this media at our fingertips at sometimes, what's going to happen then? How are people going to survive?
Yeah. And one of the things I thought about last week was when I was looking at this, it's like, if you look at the image on the left, who are those people looking at?
Oh, themselves.
Exactly.
Themselves.
And there's so much like being missed that's around them. God created the earth, all these wonderful things that are out there that if you just open your eyes and go to them and observe them, it's just fantastic. It's spectacular. And here is where we're going as a human race. We're more concerned about ourselves, how we look, my hair, my earrings, this, that, and the other, that we're missing the big picture. And unfortunately, I think in time, that's going to whack some people right in the ASS.
Yeah, I think so.
If you know what I'm talking about. And then the one on the right, that thing right there is going to happen. Okay, that thing right there is going to happen.
It already is.
Yeah.
I mean, what is it? Japan has been able to create a fully AI human.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've actually been able to. I'm not sure if it's China or Japan, but they've actually been able to create one where it does look lifelike, and you can't tell the difference. So eventually, I mean, I know I'm showing my age, but if you go back to the Terminator movies, I mean, Skynet took over everything.
Yeah,
Skynet learned everything. And then the machines took over.
Yeah, and the machines started to think for themselves, and that's exactly, in my opinion, what this image shows on the right there. It's like the human race is so consumed with this cell phone business and what's involved in it, and then the robots look at that and say, hey, you know what, we're going to better educate ourselves. You know what I mean? So yeah, I just thought that was really interesting to look at. The other slide that I want to go back on was in last week's podcast, and I thought that show was really, really good because it focused a lot on just education and research, and you and Elvis did a really good job with that. I believe it or not, I watched part of that show on a ridge because you get total connection in Oahu, even on the ridges. I was shocked. So you know what? I'm just going to turn it on, and I did, and I saw this come up, and there was just one thing on there I wanted to point out, and that's number 3, master the 80-20 rule. That's something that I practice on a daily basis here, because if you do not master that, you know what's going to happen to you?
You're going to burn out.
Well, yeah, you're going to burn out, but you're just going to go off on every single little tangent that comes up during the course of your day and not get a damn thing accomplished. Okay? I learned that a long time ago. Back in 1992, when I worked for Frito-Lay, they sent me to, it was a lateral assignment. They sent me to research and development at headquarters. I spent 3 years in research and development. All we did was focus on concepts like this, statistical process controls. And this was one of the things that I still use today in my job. If I'm spending 20% of my time, okay, on something that is not like moving the ball down the field, I'm on the wrong track. You need to be spending your 80% of your time on what's moving that ball down the field. So, my opinion. I'm not sure what you saw on this or what your perspective is on it.
My thing is the get comfortable saying no. And I, to a fault, have that problem here of getting problems saying no, because it's like I know I can handle it. I know I can handle things, but sometimes you don't realize. It's like going to a buffet, and I love me, I love my food, but all of a sudden you don't realize how much you got on your plate until you're almost finished, and you're like, man, I overdid it. And then you're stressed, you're angry or whatever, or not. I wouldn't say angry. You're just on edge.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to do the right thing. You're trying to help people, but then you don't look at how it affects yourself.
Right. And one of the things that puts pressure on you is if you're in a reporting relationship, and your manager or coach says, hey, blah, 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 blah. And it's the constant yes, 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 yes. Again, I learned a long time ago that sometimes it is appropriate to say no, so you can manage your own stress level. And it's okay to say no. I mean, it's a human word, you know what I mean? But to your point, you can just say yes, 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 and just be totally stressed out, not enjoy your job, that kind of thing. So let's see what we've got up here. YouTube, let's see, Hunt M 1983, hey, Gruber Power Show is live, ready to go. Claude is back at it. Verbosi Farm, oh, that's John in Kentucky. Hello, John, looking forward to seeing you in June, buddy. Looking forward to seeing you. That's one of my mineral contacts out in Kentucky. Guy knows tons and tons and tons, has his own business, rockpushers.com. Guy's amazing. Had a great talk with him a few weeks ago down at the Tucson Gym Show. Hey, Claude, hope you guys are doing well. Happy Easter to you and Lenny. We got Andrew Robinson. Can you guys define the difference in drive frequency between IGBT / PFC rectification versus Thyristor rectification? I have no idea who Andrew Robinson is.
I'm at a loss on that question.
Yeah, I think that's one of those Scud missiles that came in. James Vega out in California. Good morning, guys. Welcome back, Claude. We also got Grant Mobell. Okay, he's into the did you knows here. So we got a guess. We got China. That is correct for number 1. I'll show you the answers here in a second. We've got the U.S. and Brazil, number 1, number 2 and number 3. I can't remember. I know the U.S. might be in the top. I know the U.S. is in the top 5, that's for sure. They might be number 2, and then Brazil. And then we've got EV fans. South Korea uses the most power and gets the most imports. Okay. And then Tech Titan Troll, the word mindset stands out Someone's mindset is key to success and failure. Absolutely. All right, let's look at these answers. Look at the answers. Okay, the one to the left. China, 32.6%. No one's surprised there, right?
No.
Electricity consumption, USA, number 2. United States right there, boom. And then number 3 is the EU at 8.8%, followed by India, Russia, Japan, and then Brazil's down there 2.5%. South Korea too. Pretty amazing, but not good. China is like the mainstream media, which I don't believe at all. But since people listen to the mainstream media, I'm telling you, man, they're leaving a lot out when it comes to China. China is monopolizing damn near everything.
They're trying to.
They are, man. They're behind the scenes. If you just go do the research and just use GPT, just use Google. It's scary how much control China has over precious things.
Just rare earth.
Yes. And then the other one I think is amazing. I thought it would have been a lot higher, don't you? As far as the imports, how much we rely on China state by state by state. Overall, it's 13.4%.
Not bad. I mean, but at the same time, 13% of your products, that's for only 360 million people. That's a lot, actually. Yeah. I mean, it's a lower number, but then you got to look at the big picture. Is like, okay,
Yeah, and then that's one country.
That's just one country, right?
It was funny the other day. I just said, you know what? Every piece of clothing, shoe, anything I'm wearing, I'm just going to take it off and just see where it's manufactured. You know what? Nothing I was wearing was manufactured in the U.S.
We used to joke when I was in the military that our uniforms and our combat boots and stuff, for us being U.S. military, you know where they manufactured? China. Vietnam, China now, but yeah, our combat boots manufactured in China. And it's like, how can you outfit your own military with an adversary's product?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we always like, damn, I can't believe we're doing this,
Yeah. It raises a lot of questions that I think the current administration is finally figuring out.
Yeah. Wanted to point out, like, the answer as far as which state's more dependent on Chinese products that are imported. Nevada is your top one. California's second. I think Nevada, most of that's probably going to Vegas. Most of that's probably going to Vegas.
Yeah.
Since steel, we've been importing Chinese steel and structure they're building out there now.
Yeah. Pretty amazing stuff. Overall, 13.4%. All right, back up there real quick to the comments. Verbosi Farms again, definitely, brother, looking forward to it. Tech Titan Troll. I also think that we live in a society that does not want to work and show up to do the job. I agree. Hunnam, responding to Andrew, IGBTs excel in medium, high-powered applications, PFC rectifiers, often employing IGBTs. Utilize high-frequency switching. That's a difference in explanation for Andrew's question. Okay. Thank you, Hunt M. 1983. All right. Ready to get into the topic of discussion, which is bypasses. So we're going to talk about two basic types of UPS bypasses. First one being internal or static, which is essentially the same thing, and then the one just being a maintenance bypass, which is external. So we'll hit up the internal first. You want to take us out on that? You see a lot of those out in the depot.
Yeah, our two main ones that we deal with is this filter board assembly, which is for our APC Symetra LX unit. This is it's basically a power board, power supply board. One side on the left has your power switch, and then, of course, this actually has a built-in maintenance bypass on this board also. So if you don't have an external bypass, you can always use this too. You can use static bypass on the internal by putting it into bypass, but you can also use the switch as a maintenance bypass on this one.
Right.
Even though it's built into the machine, it still has that capability, like an external bypass.
Now,
And
this
it
is a
also
single,
can do static.
right. This is a single phase machine, correct?
This is a single,
Yeah.
well, technically a single phase, even though it is split phase, essentially. But
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So one of the key things to talk about here with the internal bypass as well is that it is internal to the UPS. It's not wall mounted, or it's not a cabinet that's sitting side by side. Also, this particular bypass, the internal or static bypass, is in response to faults of the UPS, overload situations with the UPS where it will automatically seamlessly transfer into the bypass mode, so the UPS does not get damaged.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't get damaged. It keeps the load. It's kind of like you said, it's a safety net.
Right.
It's essentially a safety net when that happens. And then it also, even if like a intelligence modules fail, it can cause it to go force bypass mode also,
Right.
just to protect it because it's not functioning correctly.
Right.
You
So
know?
so the key here is there's no repairs being done. There's no isolation being done, okay, with this particular type of bypass. It's essentially a mechanism that's used to protect the UPS in the event of a fault or an overload situation. Whereas the maintenance bypass, which we'll switch to, I'll show you an image of that.
This is another internal.
Yeah.
This is your static switch for an 80K.
Okay.
So same concept as far as static bypass.
Okay.
Now these are your externals. Wall mounted. On the left side you have a circuit breaker, 3 circuit breaker type bypass panel. Then you have a service bypass panel by APC, which is typically, it can be wall mounted or it could sit on top of the unit itself also.
Yeah.
And these are hardwired to the machines. They're not plug and play. So they are usually installed by an electrician when we install them for an LX and or a PX system or whatever APC system we're putting it into. So they're not plug and play like some units are.
Right. And these are typically used in a scenario where you're either going to do an intrusive repair on the UPS, or you're going to replace the UPS altogether because it's an isolation type scenario where you're taking the UPS completely out of. Oh, the other thing I want to mention too in the internal bypass is that UPS is still energized.
It is still
Okay.
energized, yes.
When it's going through the motions of transferring, where in this scenario you're isolating the UPS for a repair, or you're going to install a UPS, so it's actually, you're taking it offline, you're basically disconnecting it, taking it out, and inserting another one. So this is more like a long-term type solution as to why you would have an external maintenance bypass.
Right.
Yeah. Show you another example.
The only thing is putting it into bypass. You're now relying on electric from the building. So if you're to have some type of outage or a power spike, it could cause some damage.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And, to your point, in that scenario, you kind of like know in advance. I'm talking about the maintenance bypass, the
Right.
external, in advance. So that customer is going to take all of his systems offline. I mean, it's scheduled. It's
scheduled,
a
right, yeah.
maintenance window, but still, even if you have a maintenance window, you still have to perform within that and come back up on time.
Right.
So that's the big thing there. What are we looking at here? Same
Thing, but this is a wall mount unit for APC. This is actually like the other ones. They can be mounted to the wall. It's just a different variation of a bypass panel.
Okay. Yeah, so those are the main differences. Mostly what we're seeing in the depot, it's mostly internal for the most part.
We do when we're testing your units, we're using the internal static bypass. But when an order comes through for an external bypass panel to be with it, we can hook up the external bypass panel to the unit, test it to make sure it's working also. But then we also test the components inside, make sure they're good. Like, component measuring.
Yeah,
Sure
you typically don't find anything.
No,
Yeah.
Mostly what you see is maybe a frayed, a wire or a lug or bolt or nut that's loose. That's about it. Or there might be cosmetic damage, but that's about it. There's
Okay.
typically not much that can go wrong with these. I mean, they're basically circuit breakers.
Okay, got you. Now back on the internal real quick, I had one question for you, Lenny, on that. This box, are you going inside of that box?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes, this is actually considered a module. So, and we have a department in the depot for module repair. So we're actually able to go in to replace fans if we need to replace a power supply card, or if we need to fix something, a loose connection, we're able to go that. Like with 80K static switches, plate that has to go on to where the power plug is on the back, to make sure it engages with the machine. Because when APC developed it, there was a little gap. So there's things that we can repair on these. There's some things we can't, obviously. But yeah, we do open these up. We do repair them.
Okay, that's good. Let me see what else we have here on that. Okay, 2 more examples here. These are like really old ones, right?
Yeah.
The one on the left there?
They're both. This is actually the same. There's just the ones on the left, and then you see the internals compared to the newer model.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the other thing
Same concept, though. It's the exact same concept. It's just a matter if it works or if it doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we sell these components, the old ones like this. We refurbish the old ones and resell them. We also sell the static ones as well, the internal bypasses. In the case of the PXs, they're components, they're modules, so we pull them in and out. So that's really interesting and good. All right, let's look at, want to know about a hydrogen fuel cell. What do you know about a hydrogen? Can you maybe clarify that question a little bit more for us? And Jesse, yeah, scroll up. Hunnam, you are redirecting power so you can operate on the UPS. That is correct. In the case of the external bypass, he's referencing the internal one. That's not the case. James Vega, can you use a bypass? Can you use bypass before power goes into a UPS? Power actually is already going into the UPS. So what's happening there is your source power, your utility, you're redirecting that to the critical load. Anytime the internal or external bypass is operated, that power, the source power, is going directly to the critical load. So there's no cleaning up going on. It's just straight power. Okay, you want to take the next one, Lenny?
Let's see here. Tech Titan Control. Are there any units that come with maintenance bypass installed? The UPS is an all-in-one UPS. No, there's not actually a bypass that will be installed with a unit itself, except for like a PX or an LX that has a static type. It has a static switch, which will do your internal bypass. But there's not one that will actually come with a bypass as an all-in-one. It's a separate, considered a separate modular piece.
Mm-hmm.
That's an addition to what you need.
Okay. The color, this is Hunnam as well. The color gives away hold on certain technology equipment is.
That's why. Yeah, how old it's supposed to be. You can tell too. I mean, just APC went to everything is black now, and this is actually an old APC one that you can tell that you could just tell by the color. Yeah, he's right. By the color scheme, you can tell how old it is.
Yeah. Well, if you've been around the business.
If you've been around the business, hey, you can pretty it up. You can put lipstick on that pig, and it'll still look good.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments on that, Lenny? Anything else you want to say?
No, except for just that LX one. The one that we saw with that LX, you can actually use that maintenance bypass switch as technically as an external, also.
That's really, really interesting.
Even though it's built into it, you can still use it as a maintenance bypass switch.
Okay.
You can add an additional external bypass to an LX, but it still has that capability. It's the only one we have that does that.
Okay. What about any of the newer units? Are they?
We haven't really seen a lot of newer units come in yet because they're still under warranty with the manufacturer, and we really haven't had a chance to have anything break down that comes in that's newer.
Interesting. Okay. Hey, I wanted to update you guys on a couple of shows that we're going to be doing here in the future. Next week, it's going to be a day in the life of a field engineer, which I think is going to be extremely interesting to hear about. Eric Pettengill, who's one of our senior guys, Eric's been with us, I think, 12 years. He's going to be on the show next week, along with myself and Lenny. And what's going to be really interesting about that is Lenny is one of our senior in-house technicians, where Eric is one of our senior field technicians. So it's going to be really interesting just to watch those guys and hear those guys collaborate. Because when Eric's out on the job, he's, the equipment is energized already, so there's only certain things that he can do. Even in the troubleshooting process, there's only certain things he can do because the unit's energized, where internally the machines aren't, and you're able to dig inside of them, get inside of them, and it's just going to be interesting to watch those two share. Because we've already, through our tech call process, I'm sure you can elaborate on that. Sometimes we use Lenny. The field engineer will call him directly and say, hey, I'm seeing this. What are your thoughts? And, you guys, there's been some pretty interesting things that have come out of that, where we would have gone out again if Lenny wouldn't have been available, which means we're spending more money on another deployment, which may fix the problem or may not. And we've been able to really, really troubleshoot and eliminate extra trips.
And actually seeing some newer stuff that you wouldn't think was possible.
Yeah.
Like you said, having it non-energized, you're actually able to navigate more of how it works or how it's integrated with each piece is integrated with each other.
Yeah.
So that allows us to learn it more in the depot because, like you said, not being energized, I got time. I can look inside the unit and say, okay, this connects to this connects to this flows this way, this flows here and there. And you kind of get, like I said, get a better sense of how everything's integrated.
Yeah.
As with, like you said, in the field, when it's energized, you're limited, plus the customer still has to continue with their business. So you don't have that safety net of being able to shut it down either.
And the other thing too, just having both of those positions in here discussing, Eric, the technician in the field, is out in the face of the customer every single day. They're driving out on the roads. I mean, it's just a whole different animal where, Lenny comes to work. He's here, at 7, leaves at what time? 9?
Yeah.
No, I'm just teasing. Leaves at 4 or 5, whatever the time is. His schedule is consistent. It's basic. Where Eric could be on the other side of the country and then flying back that night. So it's going to be really interesting to hear that conversation. But an even more interesting show that I would like to do in the very near future, it's the many facets of leadership. I kind of want to do a segue and get off the technical stuff for a bit and focus more on really what drives the organization from a leadership standpoint. So I'm working on trying to get some guests in here that have run businesses, have run companies, and in some cases even retired, but can reflect and can add a tremendous amount of value in terms of just leadership. And of course, I'm sitting right next to a veteran right here who knows all about structure, all about what that is. So I'm actually looking forward to hearing your thoughts as well.
Looking forward to, I don't know.
Yeah.
Giving some education, I don't know, of my background, I guess.
Well, the thing is, there's many facets to it. So it's going to be really, really challenging to get it all in one show. So this may be something that we do in 2 shows, especially if I'm able to round up some of the guests that I'm thinking about to actually appear on the podcast, because these guys have done a lot of high-level work with organizations, building them, teams, just phenomenal things, and they've really impacted my career, my early career. So I'm really excited. We'll be even more excited if I can get them on. That would just be awesome. 2 of the individuals are still residing here in Phoenix, and I hope to have them here. Okay. Anything else, Lenny?
No, I have nothing to add for this week.
We got a little jab here from somebody in the organization. YouTube hunt him, 1983. I'm going to hunt this guy down and choke him. Incorrect, Claude and Lenny. There is one APC ISX 20 kVA that comes with a maintenance bypass eternally. Well, thank you very much for educating us. Truly
And it also
appreciate
has a PDU in it too.
No, I actually know who this guy is
Yeah,
right
little
here.
guy, you're right. Yeah, I'm gonna choke him. No,
That's fine. That's fine. I'm totally open to it. Okay. Oh, one question to end on here from Grant. What is the crystal/mineral on the desk? Is it citrine? No, it is the golden quartz healer. It's called the golden healer, and it is from, I believe, Santander, Colombia. I'm sure, if I'm wrong on that, I'm sure John Verbosi will chime in and tell me, hey, you know what, it's from a different part of Colombia. But anyway, if my memory serves me correct, that's where it's from. Yeah, this is a really, really pretty crystal. Really is. Can't really, see it that well on the screen, but just looking at it and holding it, it's amazing. Oh, yeah. All right, so next week, look forward to seeing Eric Pettengill, myself, and Lenny Hodges. And until then, good day and happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Good night.
Good night.